about the roles that are implicit in that hexagon, right? Governance structures and social, cultural context. And by the way, let's bring the URL up for folks. If you want to download the collective work of the fellows, first big collective expression of the fellows. But that hexagon is about solving ethical concerns, but it seems to be as much about building a whole social system around data. That if you're going to do this in communities, you've got to actually talk to the people in charge and the people on the street and the people who have institutions and the technologists who are going to produce the sensors. It's actually a huge coordination task around the sort of an ecosystem around what you're trying to do. Any of you want to take that?
I think that's absolutely right. I think that's the enormous challenge that we're facing. And precisely Amy's point about this need for data about the long term. We need to have data that looks at, not just 50 years, but 500 years out. What's going to be happening to these kinds of systems? But there's a confusion that happens when we try to think about the data collection in natural systems with human systems. We introduce a whole lot of new risks and vulnerabilities when we do massive human data collection. So disarticulating those and then thinking about it on the ground, how you get people involved so they can participate in how we design data systems, I think that's one of the key issues we're facing, which is actually why we'd like to invite everybody here, if you've got time tomorrow for breakfast, we're going to be gathering around the corner at the coffee shop, and we would love to actually have this conversation with you, particularly if you're working on these kinds of issues in communities, because we think that's exactly in these sorts of spaces where we can have these conversations and we can move the debate forward.
So can I just add to that? We had a presentation yesterday on citizen science, and there is a really important movement in engaging people in science to get people more involved in climate and conservation issues. And I think that there's a parallel here, providing people a pathway for being involved in the understanding the implications and addressing the challenges that the collection of data can provide can make us all better stewards of the earth and of our societies.
It's about being mindful.
It's about being mindful, exactly.
Yeah, it all comes
together.
That's right. I have one last question for all of you, and that is, can you give us a negative lesson? That is to say, as much as we're talking about what needs to happen, can we talk about what needs to not happen? That is to say, give us an example of something that is sort of pushes us to the right place but keeps us out of the wrong places. Do you want to talk? Patrick, why don't you?
So bad things I can talk about.
Patrick doesn't do negative.